Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're unboxing something that I'm super excited about, a brand new AVA Evolution P80 pressure washer. Now there were a few reasons why I chose this particular model. I've owned several pressure washers in the past, with the latest one being a Karcher K4. This is a brand that most people recognise because of the bright yellow casing, and anyone who's owned one is probably familiar with long-term reliability. Before going down the route of just buying another replacement to see how long the next one lasts, I thought I'd check out what else was out there. This is when I came across AVA, a brand I wasn't familiar with, so did a little reading to learn more about them. AVA is a Norwegian brand. I gather the founders were originally distributors of other pressure washers in Norway and identified the poor reliability of those they were selling. Norway has a population of around 5 million spread over 140,000 square miles. In comparison, the UK is 2/3 that size and has 14 times more inhabitants. I imagine this means in Norway, if something went wrong with a pressure washer, the likelihood of someone being local to fix it was unlikely, which meant it would need to be shipped to repair, because most manufacturers out there will void your warranty if you try and fix it yourself. And as such, the founders realised an opportunity to create something that both performed better and was also more reliable, and from this ethos, AVA was born. The main feature that made me double take was that AVA offer up to a 20-year warranty on the products. Now, anyone who offers a warranty that long must be confident in what they make, especially when the competition is struggling to offer anything higher than the standard 1-year warranty you normally get. Now, because I'm familiar with Karcher, I started to see what they offer, then look for the equivalent in AVA. The main issues I had when using my Karcher K4 was that the hose was way too short. You had to carry the machine around the car to clean it. This was originally solved by buying an aftermarket 10-metre hose. However, this then introduced another issue, packing it up after you've finished using it. Wrapping the hose around the casing is a pain, so one thing I was keen to upgrade was a pressure washer that had a reel. Karcher lists their pressure washers first by power, then by style. So K2 is their entry-level range with the lowest powered pumps, right up to the K7, which are the most powerful domestic machines they offer. Naturally, and Karcher aren't the only ones that do this, only include premium features in the higher end models, like for example the hose reel. In the UK, the only model they offer with a reel is the K7. It's £600 and doesn't come with any accessories. AVA, in contrast, display their pressure washers by style, then within each model, if applicable, you can choose how powerful it is. This means you can get the features you want without being forced to buy the most expensive model. Based on these comparisons, the price and warranty offered, it was settled. I was going to be buying an AVA. The next issue was which one. Both the Easy and the Evolution have hose reels, and both have variants that are more powerful than my current Karcher pressure washer. I think for most, the Easy will most likely be the obvious choice, because compared to the Evolution, it's slightly cheaper and you also get a patio cleaner included. However, I wanted to go for the Evolution P80 because I wanted the most powerful pressure washer I could buy. The main reasons for wanting a more powerful pressure washer was to see if it removes dirt any better than a less powerful one, and secondly, to see if it helps the foam cannon produce better snow foam. Rather than including unboxing and assembly in this review, I've created a separate video detailing how it arrived, what's included in the box and getting it ready for first use. You can use the link in the corner here, and I've also linked to it in the description of this video. First, unravel the power cord to access the plug. This is by design. You shouldn't use a high power AC device with coiled wire as it creates impedance and could melt it. Ditto if you're using an extension lead. Fully unravel it first. Because this pressure washer has never been used, I'm first going to prime the hose pipe and pump before powering it on to get all of the air out of the system. Now the hose pipe is primed, I'll connect it to the pressure washer. I'm going to use this opportunity to test the flow rate of the pressure washer. I've not got a nozzle connected, as this should in theory provide the greatest flow rate from the least restriction. Although I've switched the machine on, it's not yet turned on at the plug. I want to run water through the pump to prime that as well. Now it's turned on, I'm going to give it a test run before measuring it. That's all good. Now let's see how long it takes to fill 10 litres in the bucket. The little black marker inside the bucket is 10 litres. One minute and 35 seconds. 10 litres divided by 95 seconds, then multiplied by 60 equals 3.6 litres per minute, or 379 litres per hour. The 600 litres per hour quote on the side of the box refers to the flow rate without the zero force trigger attached. So, for the interests of accuracy, here's a test I recorded without the zero force trigger attached. It needs to fill 10 litres in 60 seconds to achieve the quoted 600 litres per hour. Although this is harder to measure because there's nothing stopping the hose running, it filled the bucket in around 65 seconds, close enough considering I overfilled it slightly in this test. For the Aquastop video I created, the flow rate of the hose pipe from my tap without a pressure washer attached was 683 litres per hour, so still over the max quoted rate for this pressure washer, so I'm going to test it with Aquastop connectors next. I'll just get the end swapped over on the hose pipe. I'll prime the pressure washer again before starting. One minute, 35.3 seconds. So, using Aquastop connectors didn't restrict water flow for this test. I've connected the zoom lamps and I'm going to test each nozzle. First the Vario nozzle on the wide spray mode. I've also got a watt meter attached so we can see how much power it is drawing when in use. The wide spray setting uses about 2,500 watts. Now the dual spray mode. This setting uses about 1,300 watts. Now for the narrow spray mode. This is getting closer to 2,600 watts. I've now attached the turbo nozzle. This is using about 2,150 watts. You can see the spinning jet is almost in sync with the 60 FPS on my camera. And finally, with no nozzle attached to the zero force trigger gun, the pump is consuming about 630 watts. One thing I've noticed when you don't use the locking collar is that when you try twisting the nozzle mode, it also twists to unlock it. You either have to use the locking collar or hold the base like this to prevent that happening. As for moving the unit around, holding the nozzle tray handle at the top, you can give it a quick flick back to tip it onto its wheels. Alternatively, you can place your foot on the axle and tip it back that way. The rubber wheels make it quiet and smooth over my sand-covered block driveway. The reel unravels easily and without snagging. The same goes for reeling it back in. There's plenty of room on the reel, so you don't have to ensure it's neat and tightly packed. This is a 10 metre hose, which is more than enough for getting around the car without having to move the pressure washer, but there are 8 and 15 metre extension hoses if you need something even longer, both of which will fit on this reel without having to disconnect it after use. I'm now going to test the snow foam cannon. I use Bilt Hamber Touch-Less, which recommends a panel impact ratio of up to 2%. PIR is basically an accurate way to measure how much foam solution is needed, specific to your pressure washer and foam cannon. First, fill the cup with water so you can measure how much liquid is dispensed in total when combined with that from the pressure washer. The cup holds 600 millilitres, which I feel might be on the low side based on other foam cannons I've tested. However, we'll find out soon enough. Make sure the flow control is set to full and the fan blades on the foam cannon are wide open so they don't restrict flow. That took 1 minute and 2 seconds. In total, it dispensed 9.3 litres. 9.3 times 1,000 equals 9,300 millilitres. Multiplying this by 2% equals 186 millilitres, which means I need to fill 186 ml of foam solution into the cup, topped up with 414 ml of water to bring that up to the 600 ml total. You can use a lower concentration of Bilt Hamber if your car isn't as dirty, and you can always experiment with the flow rate on the foam cannon if you want to keep costs down. As you can see here, this AVA foam cannon is producing good quality thick foam. And to my surprise, I've managed to cover the entire car with a little still left over. One thing about this design is that you cannot place it on the floor unless it's on its side. You are meant to hang it on the back of the nozzle stand, but it will only go in one way, with the control knob on the outside like this. Although I would usually use the nozzle direct in the short trigger gun, I'm going to use this opportunity to test the zoom lance. The locking collar on the short trigger gun is straightforward. I don't need to move my trigger hand to lock it. The collar on the zoom lance, however, needs to be held here, otherwise the lance twists at the same time. I'm using the narrow spray mode on the nozzle as this feels like the best one to catch any dirt that might still be stuck on the front. You can see the hose is more than long enough to keep away from the car while still being able to reach every side with ease. Extending the zoom lance is easy and useful for reaching harder to reach places. This lance comes into its own cleaning driveways and patios. You can see here that when retracted, the AVA lance with turbo nozzle is the same length as the Karcher with the Dirt Blaster lance attached. However, AVA's lance will extend up to a foot longer. This means you can get the perfect length based on your height. You can see here with the Karcher lance, I'm 5'11" and I'm having to hunch over to get the lance close enough to work. If I stand up straight, it's too far away to clean effectively. With the AVA lance, wow, this is a lot more powerful. It's actually cleaning as well even when I'm stood straight and the nozzle is further away. With the AVA lance, you can extend it to ensure you're stood straight and the nozzle is the ideal length based on your height. Your back is going to thank you for prolonged jobs like these. You can actually fully extend it to use it further away so that you don't get splashed as much. Anyway, back to cleaning the car. You can see whilst I'm rinsing off the snow foam, it's using about 2,400 watts. The voltage in my garage is 222 volts when not in use, dropping to about 214 volts when the pressure washer is active. Although a drop is expected when in use, 220 volts does appear to be on the low side. You can also see it is using 11.3 amps. To maintain the foam cannon, after use, I always clean it out with water. Simply unscrew the cup from the lance head, then allow it to pick up clean water either from a bucket or the cup after washing it out. As for whether you need to use the locking collars, here's what the play looks like when not locked. When in use, it does stiffen up and doesn't leak in any way. Now if I lock it, there's about the same amount of play when it's off as when it's on. So I think for long cleaning jobs I'll lock it, but I don't think I'll bother for quick jobs if I'm frequently swapping nozzles. This is the issue when not locking the collar when using the adjustable nozzle. It clips in easy, but if you try turning it between modes, you can twist it to the point where it ejects the nozzle. With the collar locked, when you twist it, it does flex the adjustable lance at the same time. However, because the button isn't pressed to extend it, that part doesn't move. You have to press the button to adjust the length. You can see here it also doesn't retract without pressing the button. This is a really minor niggle, but sometimes depending on the angle of the lever, the metal handle vibrates and makes a small rattling sound. Maybe the tolerances between the parts need to be a little closer, or a rubber O-ring on the end might solve it. After finishing with the pressure washer, switch off the machine, unplug the hose pipe, then release any pressure from the lance gun. This ensures the pressure washer isn't stored charged when not in use, which can lead to premature failure. As I showed earlier, you don't need to guide the hose as the reel has plenty of space. However, I'm doing this to highlight how much space is available if you did want to purchase a longer hose. I reckon you could probably get close to 30 meters on this reel. If you prefer, you can also store the zero force trigger gun in the side holster like so. Finally, with it disconnected from the mains, insert the plug into the reel at the back and wind it up. To maintain the warranties offered, you do need to buy a service kit every 5 years. Now before you say I knew there'd be a catch, these service kits are sold on a non-profit basis, so are very reasonably priced. For the Evolution P80, it's £28 for the 5-year service interval kit, which includes the pump head and inlets. The 10-year service interval kit includes the same parts plus the full head assembly for £38. This is a negligible cost to ensure you have a pressure washer that works like new for the duration of ownership, and let's face it, a damn sight cheaper than buying a completely new pressure washer. If you are unlucky enough to have an issue with the pressure washer whilst under warranty, you have two options. First, AVA will help identify which component is at fault and usually send out a replacement part next day, which you can fit yourself to get back up and running. Alternatively, if you don't feel confident repairing it yourself, AVA have a workshop in the UK where you can send it to get fixed. If you try the repair yourself and it fails, you haven't invalidated your warranty, you can simply send it to the workshop and they will sort it and get it back up and running again. Also, if you don't feel confident servicing your pressure washer to maintain the 10 or 20 year warranty, you can opt to send it to the workshop for AVA to do it for you. They will also arrange collection and delivery. I'm really impressed with this pressure washer. Being able to choose a pressure washer that has the features you want and the power that you need saves money. The pressure washer was well packaged and needed little assembly to get it up and running. The build quality feels great and the massive warranty gives you confidence that you're not going to need to buy a replacement next time you come to use it. And as for price, you get better performance, more features and a longer warranty, all for the same or lower price than comparative products. Delivery is free on orders over £50, which means it covers all the pressure washers they sell. Would I recommend it? Without a doubt. What's there to not recommend? Well guys, that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribing's free and it just means any future videos I release will show up on your feed without you having to search for them. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you on the next video.